Welcome to this special edition of our Mazingira Day discussion at a time when the nation pauses to reflect on how we treat our environment. On April 24th, 2024, the Public Holidays Act was amended, replacing Utamaduni Day with Mazingira Day, to be observed every year on October 10th. The first national celebration was held just months later on October 10th, 2024, with Kenyans across the country planting trees, cleaning rivers, and pledging to protect the environment. President Ruto's government announced an ambitious goal to plant 15 billion trees by 2032, beginning with 100 million trees on Mazingira Day itself across the nation. But 1 year later, we must ask ourselves, how many of those trees have survived and taken root when forests that should be protected are given way to commercial developments? Are we truly acting for the environment or merely celebrating it once a year? That's the conversation we want to have. You can be part of it by sending your comments and feedback on our SMS line 20316. WhatsApp line is 0786 316 316. Joining me in studio are environmental enthusiasts. These are people that are passionate about environment. The question is, have they planted trees? Or they're just passionate? You'll find out that as we begin. But let me introduce my guests. I have Mercy Wanjiko Kamau, who is the Research and Capacity Building Officer at Green Africa Foundation. You know it's synonymous with Kalua the Green or Kalua Green, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Mercy, she's a skilled environmental and climate change professional, deeply committed to advancing suitable development through research, training, and capacity building, particularly in environmental governance, climate-smart practices, and inclusive energy systems. Welcome to Crosstalk.
Thank you so much.
And happy Mazingira Day.
Yeah, happy Mazingira Day to all Kenyans.
Yes. Ulisema tunasalimiana aje?
Tulisema slogan ya Mazingira Day ni jaza miti. So hiyo ndio salamu ya Mazingira Day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Also joining me in studio is Arens Onguka, she's an environmental scientist, a climate change enthusiast, and a researcher. She serves as the partnership manager at Environmental Capacities and Sustainability Institute. Karibu.
Asante.
Jaza miti.
Jaza miti. That is the slogan. Yes.
Also with us in studio is a set of environmentalists, a great panel. You will be getting to hear from them as also they introduce themselves for purposes of just engaging with us on this issue. But as we start, guys, welcome to Crosstalk. Jaza miti.
Jaza miti.
So that's the conversation today. So let me start with you, Mercy, because when we talk about Mazingira Day, and we've seen this morph from Moi Day to Utamaduni Day to Mazingira Day, when governments make such kind of progressive policy changes to days that we need to celebrate, like this one, what comes to mind? Is it a priority issue or it's a political issue?
So thank you so much, John. So for me, having Mazingira Day and bearing in mind it had different names there before, it's an issue of commitment. We have seen what is happening in terms of climate change, what is happening with our forest cover. So I believe it's a matter of commitment, a commitment to improve on our forest cover and also the tree cover in Kenya, bearing in mind that we are not doing so well compared to other countries within our region. So I would say it's an issue of commitment.
Commitment.
Yeah.
When we talk about we are not doing so well compared with our mates within the region, what are we looking at in this space?
So we are just looking at percentages of, say, like in Kenya currently, if you look at the tree cover generally, we are at 12%. For the forest cover, it's even lower. We are at 9% currently. But if you look at our neighboring countries, like, say, even Uganda, they are doing relatively well in terms of their forest cover. And therefore, I think the commitment by His Excellency, the President of Kenya, to make Mazingira Day present day in Kenya is an issue of improvement in terms of just upgrading the percentages of our tree coverage. Yeah.
Irene, what's your take? Is this something that is welcome? Because the question then is, even as we mark, there's an ambitious goal to plant 15 billion trees. Annually, we are supposed to plant 100 million. So if you look at our track record in the past 1 year, even as we mark this day, what would you say?
Well, I would actually say that, first of all, Mazingira Day was born, out of goodwill to make Kenyans reconnect with the environment before it is long forgotten, so that we can bring the community back to reconnecting with the natural ecosystem towards planting trees, So I believe that Mazingira Day should be a priority. Yeah, even though we are still a little bit behind, and as my friend here mentioned, that we're still behind in terms of forest cover being at 10% and tree cover being just slightly above by 12%, and yet the international standard goal is at 30% by 2032, which means there is a lot of effort that we need to pump in so that we can achieve this. And these calls for collective community action, national action. And therefore, Mazingira Day, I feel like it comes at an opportune time, to enable us to achieve this target. Remember, in the background, we are also trying to champion for climate action, because Kenya also falls in the East African, sub-Saharan section, where we face the greatest impacts of climate change. We are very much vulnerable. So having Mazingira Day enables us not only to achieve some of these percentage goal covers, but also enables us to fight the vulnerability with which we are exposed to, in terms of climate change.
Right.
Yeah, so it is a priority. And the question may be that we should ask ourselves, are we greening really the environment, or are we greening our minds? In our minds, yes, it's Mazingira Day.
Yes.
I've planted a tree. But again, we need not to forget that Mazingira Day also risks being just
Another day.
on a day for just an opportune moment for a photo, where it's Mazingira Day. I planted trees, social media tags, LinkedIn tweets, and it's all long forgotten. So we need to come back to reality and, give more honor to Mazingira Day, so that we can make it a priority towards tree growing, not just tree planting.
Right.
Yes.
And we'll be coming to that. How do we move from just awareness to action and responsibility?
Yes.
But let me bring in Wangeshi, because we've talked about forest cover.
Yes.
And you are one of the architects we have around. When you see, because environmental issues is a universal issue. And when you see forests paving way to commercial developments, what comes to your mind?
Thank you. And I just like to say, I like her point on, as much as it's a ceremony, it also sensitizes the community to be aware of. No, we have a lot of issues we are thinking about. And before you think about the environment, you're first thinking of survival. So that's a very key point. So as an architect and someone who looks at urban development, the first thing that comes to mind is, how are we zoning? How are we planning our cities? And I come here mainly as a healthy cities advocate, and the air we are breathing in Nairobi is wanting. Yes? And we take it for granted. The air is free, but it's deteriorating with time. And the first thing I think about is the people in the decision-making rooms of how settlements are designed, how settlements are planned, and what's surrounding those settlements, factories, where are schools placed, where are hospitals placed, where are markets placed, where our food is produced, yeah? So what comes to mind is, are we intentional about how we are planning our cities to have adequate green cover, to provide us with healthy and clean air to breathe in, because the air is the life. We are alive because we are breathing clean air. And once we are healthy, we can be able to now carry out other activities. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I'll be coming back to you, but there's something that has been mentioned, that is this just something in our mind? But if you go down to the local communities, then you realize our environment is not appealing and we are not breathing oxygen. Maybe it's something.
Yeah.
We are surviving by grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I would say in terms of making this come from the local people at the community level, sorry. When you have Mazingira Day, you mentioned 100 million trees per year, but actually that was 100 million during the Mazingira Day, the 2024 Mazingira Day. But if you look at the ambition, the 15B, then that means per year. You know, this started in 2022 up to 2032. Per year, you need 1.5 billion. So I actually take Mazingira Day as an epitome of what you've been doing throughout the year. If you think about it that way, then you'll be able to realize throughout the year, you are in the process of growing trees, not just that day. So that day you could do it extraordinarily, but you've been doing it and you'll continue to do it even after Mazingira Day. So we take it as a process. That way, you'll be able to change the mind of that person who thinks it's a one-day event. That way, now you're able to cultivate that culture of growing trees daily. Daily.
Okay.
Because the 1.5 billion per year, you cannot do it in an event. But if you do it daily with communities, because these are the people who own land, you do not have land anywhere else. It belongs to the community. So that is where you do the planting, and it is a process that we celebrate on a day event where we now do it extraordinarily as an epitome of what we've been doing throughout the year.
Okay, let me bring you in early because you are part of Friends of Karura and we know what is happening currently there. Do we really have space to plant trees if Karura is under encroachment in the name of development?
Okay, thank you so much. And I'm happy that we are having this conversation at this time. It tells us that we are realizing the pressing issues of climate change. Allow me to say that as Friends of Karura, we have been able to see when we actually act, when action and commitment is brought in. Because number one, I see the celebration of Mazingira Day not only as a single day event. There are several things that I believe should be brought into, should form the basis or the core of this celebration. Number one is to protect what we have. Let's protect, conserve, and restore the existing forest that we have, because it's even easier to protect a standing forest than creating new ones. Wangishi talked of the air that we breathe, that it is wanting within Nairobi. Karura Forest is one of the lungs of the city. If we don't take the necessary steps to protect Karura Forest, it is going to be business as usual. The second thing that I believe we should shift from is from tree planting to tree growing, just as the previous speakers have put. It should be, we should move from now the campaign to a culture. We should put that as a culture, not just a campaign, because the campaign is meant to create the awareness. Now we are aware that we need to do that. So let's inculcate that as a culture. The third thing that I would like to point out is the need for community participation from the local level. The forest adjacent communities play very important role in the management of this forest. And finally, let's do things the right way. Have the right trees at the right places for the right purpose and at the right time. Our timing for tree growing should be put into consideration if we are to achieve this 15 billion ambitious goal.
All right. Let me have you, because there's the aspect of activism that sometimes you also see around environmental protection. And I think that's what keeps environmental conversations ongoing. But if you look, for instance, just within our city, Nairobi, when it rains just for 2 hours, it's a mess. Is it an issue of culture or just policies or political goodwill?
Thank you. My name is Sophie. I think it's a little bit of both. For example, let me start off where Mariam left it. You're finding, if you have grown up in Nairobi, you know that these uptown areas have not had skyscrapers for a while and many apartment buildings coming up. But what we're experiencing now is the county government is allowing perennial upcoming of buildings, beacon to beacon, which shouldn't be the case because even of lighting for the buildings that are already existent. So you're finding trees are being cut to pave way for buildings. Buildings are being built on top of drainage, on top of where the urban planning had planned that this is a drainage area, so don't build a building here. Then we have a culture of littering as Kenyans. But why are we littering? Because there are no bins. Like, just walk from here all the way to Westlands, there's no bin. But in the CBD, there are several bins these days. But if you see the rate at which we are dumping litter outside, in the drainage, the upcoming vibandas that are everywhere, they do not have dumping sites. You know, in communities, you're supposed to have a big area where you go and dump your trash, and then the county is supposed to come for the trash there. We don't have such facilities in Nairobi. So we are finding our drainages are full of trash. So when it rains, what happens? Let's go to a place like Westlands. Go there outside Quickmart. That drainage outside Quickmart is constantly full of water. So you can imagine what happens when it rains. That water is already dirty. It already has a lot of marsh. So when it rains, that water comes to the road. You as a pedestrian au jabarikiwa na gari bado, you have to go home. Itabidi umekanyanga hiyo maji. But my question is, when this county government of Nairobi came in, they procured a lot of garbage collection trucks. Like we saw it, and there were rumors that there were kickbacks that were gotten from those garbage collection trucks. Where are they? What do they do? How often is garbage collected in Nairobi? But we have a company that has been given that job. We have a CEC who is there. So what we are doing from the level of activism right now on X, we are running a campaign that we are calling Reclaim Nairobi, where we're taking it upon ourselves as citizens to expose to the county executive committee member who is Musiria to show him this is where there is litter, come and collect. Because you're not doing your job, we are showing you where the things are, come and make it better so that we do not have to experience this. Okay. But I'm just wondering, we're the ones who are paying these people. Why do we have to be the ones suffering?
I'll come back to that. Why do we need to be the ones suffering? Maybe let's see if we can get an answer from here before I come to Dennis and Boya. Yeah.
Very, very good question. Why are we the ones suffering? I think this brings us back now to EMCA, you know, Environmental Management and Coordination Act. You see, it is the legal and, you know, framework institution that oversees the environmental conservation. And, you know, it has now the NEMA. That is the principal government institution that should govern that. Now, why are we suffering? There are a lot of poor urban planning, you know, a lot of construction coming on board. I think that now we need to strengthen our, you know, the institutional oversights, because nowadays, EIAs, the environmental impact assessments, are a huge joke. You know, it's more of just formality or just the hassle of getting a license instead of being a real project vetting tool. And I think that's where the gap is. You know, so NEMA should really, really oversee and approve EIAs before any project, you know, for the urban planners begins, so that they can see and monitor even the drainage system, the consequences and all that, you know. And also on the wastes, while there has been success on the ban for single-use plastics, there's a huge success rate. We need to create efficient systems for the alternative packaging, efficient system for the alternative packaging systems. Like, how are they going to dispose the alternative system, what we call the ERP, extended producer responsibility, so that we can see the dumping of this waste, and otherwise the dumping is all over. And also there's probably very minimal crime, not really crime, but charges to open dumping, and there's zero regulations for open dumping. If you go to Kasarani, for example, near the stadium, there is a certain section that nowadays is just for dumping. Waste collected within the estates are dumped there, and there are no fines really. So the public is actually suffering because the neighboring communities around there, or people residing in those areas, their health is at risk. Airborne pollution is at, and the regulations are there. So we need to go back to MCA. The NEMA, there's a lot of work to be done. So we don't have to suffer when there are those regulatory frameworks. It's all about policy implementation.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe if I can add a voice to what my friend is saying.
Yes.
The issue is enforcement. And maybe to help you now from the activism perspective, now we have NEMA that is legally established under MCA. The work of NEMA is to come and make sure that the law that is there on waste management is effectively implemented.
Not just
so what then if they don't do that? Yeah, yeah, that includes the charges. But what if they don't do that? Do you continue suffering? No. You don't have to suffer. We also have NET, the National Tribunal, the National Environmental Tribunal. If you feel that NEMA is not doing its work on a certain area, you have reported to them and maybe they have given an approval, that is where you take your case. And I have seen lots of activists do this. They go to the tribunal and their cases are addressed and projects stop. You don't have to suffer. We have the mechanisms are in place. Just go through the correct channels. All because right. If people are sleeping on their duties, then we have law. You can take that route and you don't have to suffer.
Okay. We'll come back to that as well, because we have the law and we have the access to report these cases. Yes. But you have a journalist here and he's also a very strong tree enthusiast. You plant trees, right?
Yes, I do.
How many can you have a count of the number of trees you've planted?
Yes, I do plant yearly, not once, but maybe monthly. But also there are those months that like towards December, the rainy seasons are always low. So chances of you planting trees at that time, they might die. Yeah, so maybe the right time from April when the rains start. So approximately planting about 600 to 1,000 trees a year.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And I realized...
So there is land?
Yes, there is.
Yes.
And remember, there are those trees I planted earlier. So with time, they get ready for harvest. So when you harvest, you replant. Yes. So my passion in tree planting, actually, I realized it at, I think I was in primary school. Yes, so without knowing, just plucked a branch thinking it will grow. So I used to pluck branches and plant them. Then I was like, why are they not growing? So from then, I was told how to do it, looking for seedlings, then now you plant. Yes.
Oh, amazing. So do you feel like Mazingira Day then has an impact? If an individual can do 1,000, so what will be the collective effort of everyone? I think we can reach 15 billion in 1 year.
Yes,
instead of
sure.
2032.
Sure,
so why 2032? Is it for financial gain?
Well, 15 billion is not really quite an easy number to achieve, but I'm sure we will achieve that. Reason being is, last week I saw some schools planting trees. So there are those methods like they use to maybe get that number. Institutions like maybe look for some days to plant trees apart from the Mazingira Day. And I will like to urge everyone to at least plant trees, maybe monthly, yearly, like me. Yeah, so I think at last we'll achieve.
I think people should get your contact so then they can join you. I think it's easy to join someone who has started than starting yourself, right?
Yeah.
Boy, let me bring you in here. There's something that is coming out. That there's a planting of trees, but there's a growing of the trees. And you're one person that is very active around environmental issues. How then do we shift the culture from just planting to growing?
So that's a very good question. And as colleagues have alluded to, environmental stewardship in our country at the moment is a big joke. The reason why I'm saying so is because for a very long time, I have been involved within environmental circle. And even before I respond to the question, my reflection of Mazingira Day goes back to 2021. So in 2021, we lost someone who in fact should have been honored for bravery. So Joanna Shootbury was driving home on just a regular day. As she was driving into her home, she was shot severally and died in Kiambu Forest. She had been fighting for protection of Kiambu Forest for a very long time. If Wangari Maathai was to be alive and present with us today, she would have been so much infuriated by the government's action as the Friends of Karura community are discussing at the moment. So the shift from just planting trees to actually growing tree is a long due process. So if we want to achieve the national tree cover, which is around, I think the target is to get to about at least 50%. Let's look at the strategic plans in place. So the government has called on people to actually donate to their schools, to donate to their communities, to donate to their communities. But where are they getting these seedlings? How is the national finances allocating money within constituency? And how is government-led institution within environmental space actually ensuring that the allocations are getting, say, to chiefs, to ward administrators, to ensure that we achieve the 15 billion cover? Because we cannot urge, it's one thing to urge citizens to plant trees, but where are they sourcing the trees? I actually believe Mazingira Day should be a citizen audit day, because since the flagship program, since this flagship program from last year, we need to talk about what is the survival rate of the trees that were planted last year. Because I'm just coming from African Climate Summit in Addis. Addis is one of the best models and frameworks that our government needs to take up. We don't need to go to COP. We actually need to go to our neighboring country in Addis, have benchmarking with them, see how the city is planned. everywhere. The trees, the streets are filled with trees. The city is clean. Flooding, it's on minimum, and it's very beautiful. And people are not littering. So I think the culture of tree planting should move far from just a single day where we turn up in numbers to plant trees. Okay. So let's act, let's be serious, and let's hold the government agencies responsible.
All right. Yeah. Just pass it to Sophie. I'll come to you as you answer that, but I just want to bring that aspect of culture shift. And where do we get these trees? You guys are in that space. Where do we get the trees from? That's the question I want you to prepare to answer, and so that you don't lose your thought. Just add your point, then we can come back here.
To add a bit on that question for tree planting and tree growing, spanner to the works, what's the place of the lifting of the ban on logging when then it comes to urging citizens to plant trees? But you've given them permission to cut indigenous, already existent trees. If let's even talk about Karura, let's talk about Ngong, let's talk about the forest in the Aberdare ranges. Since the lifting of that ban, and the trees are cut for the worst of reasons, charcoal burning, making furniture, like, why are we talking about new trees and we're not taking care, like he said, of the existent trees? Where is the place for ecological justice in this country?
Okay, ecological justice. Maybe go first.
Yes, actually, I just want to echo something for both of them first.
So I try to go green.
Yeah, you're trying to go green. Yeah, so also just to echo on what my two friends over there have said, how do we ensure also the tree growing instead of tree planting? There's an issue that our friend from Karura said the community has to be involved. So we could ensure, I suggest we can ensure some community, tree stewardship where we involve, community. For instance, you can assign a school or a youth group to take care, of a particular section of area that trees have been planted, or particular section of Karura or Ngong. So we give them the stewardship, but we also assigning the responsibilities. So it gives them a sense of ownership for the environment, especially for our youths. They're trying to bridge the gap of unemployment crisis, and they're looking for something to do. These are things that can keep them busy, And then another thing, we can do the post-planting monitoring. We can do the tracking. I know nowadays technology is vast, and we could use some tracking GPS devices where we can quickly report harm towards the environment. Like if there's just an instant of encroachment or logging, there's a way you can quickly report this, towards the right channels. And also we can also implement the adopt a tree programs for corporates, for companies. NGOs that are eligible could probably adopt a tree. So adopting means you can basically plant these trees from nurturing, cultivating, and seeing it all through the cycle of growth and until it is actually steady. So that will ensure us to move away from just a one-day single event of tree planting to tree growing. And again, to echo on what he said, is that Mazingira Day should not be a one-day event, of course, but I see it as a 1 year long cycle of planning, of preparation, of education. We need to educate and capacity build people on waste management, planting trees, and also monitoring and auditing, and launching of the next year's, activities like weeding and seeing where we are. So I see that if we can actually focus on this during Mazingira Day rather than just a tree planting, then we are likely to achieve the 15 billion target. Tree cover.
Okay. Green Africa Foundation, where do you guys get your trees? Maybe it's something that is interesting for the viewer to know. If I'm supposed to engage, yes, I'll come to you, Mboya. If I'm supposed to plant trees. And I think Mazingira Day, as we are getting to know, it's not just about planting of trees. It covers quite a lot, even cleanups. And the team here as well will replace them with buildings, and we'll be coming to you and Geshi with some of the policy gaps that you see. Yeah, so where can one get trees?
So at Green Africa Foundation, we do our own nurseries. So from there, we now then distribute to the communities we work with. If you're interested in tree planting in a season when you have plenty of seedlings, we even offer to other institutions. But for community, we do for free, and we also sell for corporates. So we do our own seedlings. Yeah, and maybe just to add on the issue of tree growing, there are very basic elements that are normally ignored. So when we do capacity building for our communities on tree growing, number one thing is timing. When are you planting your seedling? You do not have to plant in January when you'll need a lot of effort in watering for the plant to grow. You can as well wait for the onset of the short or rainy season. Then you'll have very little to do after you have planted. The second thing is the species you plant. Is it adaptable to the environment you're taking that plant to? You know, in Kenya we have ulcers, we have different types of arable lands, but you need to be very specific on the tree species selection. Number 3 is the dimension of the hole you dig. Normally I see, when I go to the communities, because I do this often, you'll see a farmer doing a very small hole, like the one you do for maize. And then they want to plant a tree and assume they have done the act. You know, these seedlings, maybe for the government, they are distributed through the local administrations like the chiefs. You go there, you get your seedlings. But what do you do with that plant? That hole won't help. So there are very basic elements that go into tree growing. It's not it is not technical, very simple elements. The hole size, the dimension, the manure. Some just use the soil alone. While you have cow dung next to your compound or within. So the elements are that basic. The hole, the manure, the timing or availability of water, and the species. That way, then you can ensure you can do tree growing.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we are saying, sorry for interrupting, but this is something that you have to nurture. It is, we'll do this, but what about the coming generation? So at Green Africa Foundation, when we have tree planting, we do not just go to plant. We first of all train. The trainings could be community, it could be a school, and it works very well when you work with schools because the children there will adapt the tree. That child is assigned a tree, they'll ensure, even if it is the dry season, they'll come with water as they do for the cleaning of the classes, they'll come with water to water that plant because they grow that attachment with the tree, and therefore it is very easy to achieve a very high survival rate. Yeah.
Thank you for those practical steps. I think they are necessary. I didn't know all that. The dimensions of the holes I dig depends on the size of the seedling. So but I'll come to both of you. But I wanted to get from Wangeshi. Maybe go first, then Boya. Okay.
So she just triggered me to the point she made around innovation, because I believe innovation is at the centerpiece of reshaping how we drive forward environmental stewardship. There is one example, one concrete example around how can we use innovation to scale up the work around environmental conservation. So, and that is the seed balls. So that can allow us, in fact, to plant a number of trees with minimum expenditure, because it has worked in, say, arid and semi-arid areas in northern Kenya. So if we can also urge the government also take up such solutions while also thinking how can communities be integrated in the same plans, but within local areas, because I want to believe people are interested in Mazingira Day, but like what happens a day before, because they have to source the seedlings, they also have to have tools like djembe. They also need they need a number of things in place to be able to plant the trees. So how then, I would like to hear what are some of the plans that are put in place to ensure that Mazingira Day people will show up. It will not just be a rush. People will be well utilized to be able to plant the trees.
All right. Maybe Dennis, and then I'll come to you. You can be passing yours the other side to Ellie.
Okay, mine is just to add on what Marcia said about nurturing. For me now, I started a tree nursery. Then at some point, he left it. But now my brother has picked up because he saw me doing it. Yeah, so currently he has started his own nursery. Yeah.
Wow. And he's getting to plant trees as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
plus it's
But you
it's a
talked
business opportunity also.
Yeah,
because we do sell the seedlings and they pay good. They pay good. Yeah.
Okay. So there's the aspect that you spoke about. Before, Wangeshi, I'm coming to you on the policy gaps. That when the trees are mature, then you sell them.
Yeah, sure.
To who?
There are those
Oh, those are business
those
secrets.
timber yards.
Yeah.
No, not really. I mean, timber yards. Yeah, you do sell them to those people. Building needs timber, so yeah, we cannot do without it.
Okay.
So yes, so this market,
All right.
market. Yeah.
So it's not logging like we were. Is there a structural way of doing it?
Well, I mean, it depends on how one sees it, but at long last, like that tree won't last forever. You know, it will reach a point it has to be harvested. Sure, that is it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wangeshi, maybe pass to Wangeshi in terms of policy. Then I'll come to you, Ellie, Nafim.
Yes.
Because most of the issues here is around planning. And you are in this field. Yeah. So where you see a tree, you see an opportunity for a commercial development, right?
Yeah.
So are there policy gaps or what is really happening?
Yeah, so first I like to start by saying I like what Sophia said about reclaiming our city, because it's inevitable that many people are coming to Nairobi for opportunities. And I must say that I currently lead a hub of young people who are taking control of their urban future. And how we do this is by gathering evidence. And that's why I've even made this air quality sensor. So for us to...
Is our air quality here good?
Come see me after I tell you. Yes, so yeah, I lead a hub of young people who are taking control of their urban future. And how we are doing this, as I said, we do something called citizen science. So as we are collecting data, we are also onboarding the members of public to not think of data as something that's done by scientists. They can be part of it. We also, I like what you said about institutional oversight. It's very important because especially in terms of urban planning, there was once a picture that was viral. The president was signing off on something to do with the urban development and inclusivity. And in the whole room, it was men in suits. Sakaja, I remember him very well. The president and other men in suits. Where were the women and the children in that room to speak? So yes, we are left out of that room, but you know, power is not given, it's taken. That's why we really need to give ourselves the agency to be part of these processes. So the hub is called Urban Better Nairobi, and we also have a smartphone app where as you're walking, you can take pictures of what's positive and negative in your area, just as you're walking, and it's geotagged. So it's a form of documenting what you like and what you don't like, so you can effect change. So about the EIA Day, you mentioned also, currently representing, we call them citizens, citizens who want to do something about their city. And I'm in a working group of crafting the Nairobi City County Air Quality Action Plan. And they've divided it in terms of, the major contributors of air pollution: waste management, construction, agriculture, and the last one was urban farming, urban transport, sorry. Yeah, that's a major one. So in terms of that, there is a public participation happening on Thursday 9th. I can share the details. I know one will be happening, I think, in Jivanji Gardens, if I'm not sure. But these processes, we really need to be a part of them. That's one. And the second thing would be in terms of the designing. Because policy, it's a stretch. They are really trying to lock us out of those rooms. So what I would also recommend, the hub is hosted under a registered organization called Conquer Design Initiative, which essentially improves informal settlements. And how they do this through design, they believe the communities are the owners of these solutions. As architects, you can be very tempted to think you know what they want. So you design from your home and you take the solution. But what we try to do is we bring on board the members. We've done some upgrading projects in Kibera. There are different projects. And we go to them first. We listen to them. Just get that aspect of desire from the people.
Okay.
And in the desire aspect, you also get what they don't like, and you can improve on that.
All
yes.
right. Thank you. And I think you are speaking to the innovation ideas that Boya was mentioning.
Exactly.
Which is amazing. But maybe at the end of the program, you should be telling us the quality of the air that we are breathing in house.
Come see me.
Okay, so you can go on, Ellie.
Okay, thank you so much. Allow me to speak to the aspect of you cannot talk of the environment if you don't look at the social aspect of the communities that we want to use to achieve this ambitious goal. The law, the Forest Management Act, allows for community participation in the management of the forest resources. That is the community adjacent, the forest adjacent communities through what we call the community forest associations. And an example of it is the Friends of Karura. When I talk of the social aspect, is if you are to achieve the environmental bit of it, or the tree growing, as I may put it, the sense of ownership in those communities is very critical. And how do we bring in that sense of ownership? Give them an alternative source of income, because at the end of it all, it is about the well-being of the people, the money, the economics in it. So you can't just talk to people and tell them to participate in something, and at the end of the day, they have nothing to take home. So women groups, youth groups, communities living around, the volunteers, the private sector, they all need to come together. And in this space, I'd like to talk about the importance of partnerships and honoring of those partnerships. If you have an agreement that you have signed with a community forest association, it is very important to honor that agreement. The second thing that I would want to talk about is the culture. I'll still go back to the aspect of the culture. At Friends of Karura Forest, we want to raise the Wangari Maathais of tomorrow, not only tomorrow, but of today. What do? We run what we call a Karura Forest Environmental Education Center. What do? We move to the informal settlements where kids have not seen 10 trees together. Bring them to the forests, sponsored by Friends of Karura and the Karura Forest Environmental Education Trust. Bring those kids, show them the butterflies they have never seen, the wildlife in the forest, the trees that flower, produce, everyone has their preferred color, the different colors. When these kids look at those, they would also they will have that touch or interaction with the forest, and they would want to be conservationists and protectors of these spaces. And we don't stop there. If the school has space, we go to the schools and develop or establish what we call the micro forests.
All right.
50 trees put together so that at least the future generations can be able to see that we have a micro forest. And then lastly is at a personal level, what do we do during your child's birthday? What is the best you can do? If your kid is celebrating or marking 3 years, make that culture of
But
growing
kama
trees.
unakaa 11th floor unaenda kupanda miti wapi?
You are hitting 40 or you are a sweet 16. Mark that sweet 16 with 16 trees.
Where?
Adopt, yes. Now the where is adopt that corner, that line of street, or that space, especially I know in Nairobi we have an aspect of people will always ask where. In Karura Forest, for example, allow me to say the felling of trees that happened is because of the restoration work. We have a management plan. Remember, Karura Forest is now supposed to be a conservation space. Sorry to say this, we always salivate for timber. Yeah, we have that timber, but the urban green spaces that we have within Nairobi should not be sources of timber. We should be looking forward to a conserved natural ecosystem, and that is why we are talking of forest restoration. Bring back our forests to the way they used to look, not full of eucalyptus trees that timber merchants will always look at them. Sorry to speak to that.
No,
Thank
that's
you.
fine. I think that brings out the passion that you have in the environmental space. Yeah, but the question of where, if I have a child and they're celebrating 3 years, the question will be, should I drive them to Shags or should I walk to Karura and plant trees? And what would that process look like? And I think those are the basics that Kenyans are asking. If I know somebody like Dennis and he's able to then allow me in his space to plant trees, or should I just walk to Karura, register my name and plant trees?
Thank you. Not only Karura, we have public spaces. Most of these public spaces look like they are open fields. Even in the fields within those estates, we need shade. We need carbon sequestration. We need clean air. So the church that you go, the mosque that you go, there is a corner that needs a shade. The public primary school or the private primary school, there is a space that needs a shade.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Maybe even it's a challenge to the people designing these buildings. There are very many innovations, like a rooftop park. It's something that's possible. You know, the facade, how is it designed to accommodate that? So our balconies. There are so many innovations and we can think about.
Wow.
Yes.
That looks beautiful. But in
The affordable
Nairobi,
housing. Yeah, let's start there.
let me bring you back. There's an aspect of affirmative action that is coming out very strongly.
It is.
that is the voices of women, the
Yes.
youth is neglected. So is there a place of affirmative action in environmental and climate space? Maybe any of you can take
Yeah.
it.
So actually, first of all, even within our own organization at ECAS Institute, we do have a youth and employability, we call it Green Skills and Employability Program, which entails just the youth. And this, not just the youth, the best term we use is young professionals and, experts, upcoming experts, so that we get to involve them in the environmental conservation activities. We get to have, let me call it a fellowship program, or rather a boot camp, where we involve them into like a 12-week intensive program on learning about all these things, environmental-wise, even career-wise, so that at the end of it all, we are providing the platform for them for exposure. And we also give them that leverage of getting involved in the policy dialogues, because our institutes or the NGOs or CSOs in this field, we get to come together for numerous policy dialogues. And with having this hub of youths, green skills and employability program, we get to give them that exposure to also attend some of these roundtables, so that their voices and opinions are also heard. And in terms of women, this should also, there has been for a long time the 2/3 gender rule, and I'm not sure the success rate, but anyway, we are trying to move fine. It's actually working, and women are actually being involved in some of these roundtable spaces to speak up, to get involved in action. And when our friend from Karura Forest was talking about providing alternative means of survival, mostly it is the women. We have been doing a case study analysis on Kirisia Forest in Samburu County. Remember, Samburu County is an ASAL. So Kirisia Forest, surviving in an ASAL means it is it's a huge catchment area and also a huge resource for the communities around. And mostly in our analysis, it is the women that are more dependent on Kirisia Forest, because they are involved in the tree cutting processes, yes, so that they can have income, through the charcoal making processes and all that. And some of the solutions, because we intend to have a project within that forest, is to have women adopt to alternative sources like CSAs, having practicing climate smart agriculture, that is, and practicing agroforestry, where they can also plant fruit trees. It gives them the fruits. There are some trees that have numerous benefits. It's not just a tree, it's a tree, as part of the environment, but it also comes with its benefits, medicinal, or fruits which can be sold to get income. At the same time, we are maybe capacity building some of these women to adopt also, let's say, climate action, environmental conservation is also closely linked to energy, and the waste residues, or rather the trees that usually fall down within these areas or during agroforestry or agricultural practices, the waste there can be used to maybe transform into biogas or energy processes, and they can actually be capacity built or trained on using some of these waste resources to make briquettes, and they can sell the briquettes. Instead of cutting down the the trees for charcoal, they can now use the natural or waste from these their farms or the forests to make briquettes, which is an alternative source for charcoal, more conservative actually, and less produces less pollution, and actually our air will be very much healthy, or their health will be much more improved, but also we have already empowered them to adopt alternative sources of income. So our women are not left out. I believe that there's a lot going on in the background. Yes.
Powerful. Great work there. Yes, and as you do, maybe just how do we then make these conversations what we'll call exclusive of the community, so that the government doesn't run with it as their sole narrative? Because then if we leave Mazingira conversation just to the government, then they monopolize almost every conversation that comes with it.
So maybe if I can start on the area of inclusivity, I'd say in the CSO world, it's an area that has many organizations have laid a lot of emphasis on. If I can give an example of Green Africa Foundation, for example, whenever we are doing a project, and mostly we are locally led, so we deal with communities. When we are implementing all of our projects, we allocate percentages to men, to women, to youth, to PWDs, and the elderly. So we always ensure that nobody's left behind. And there's a principle that always guides our restoration work, and we say it is inclusive local restoration. Those three words are they speak on their behalf, because if you say inclusive, then you're looking at all these elements of JEDC, the inclusivity elements, and then you're also ensuring that there's that community ownership. For example, if we do forest restoration, we have done several forest restoration projects. we work with CFAs mentioned by the Friends of Karura. That way, in fact, our monitoring and evaluation is done by the CFAs. We leave that work to them so that they own up. They ensure that the project is sustainable after we have gone. They take up the initiative to make sure that the impact is still left within the communities. Also, the issue of nature-based solution is an area of bringing in the economic benefit of restoration. Where viable, we encourage like apiculture. You have done restoration, but what about the economic benefit? Then an issue like now apiculture comes in. We also do those trainings. It is an incentive for you to keep maintaining the trees. Then you'll have to see the benefit it is bringing to you personally. And we know Kenyans, we like what is economically viable. So if you bring
even in
such
planting trees, they'll be asking, after tumepanda sasa.
So one of them is that like apiculture now comes handy. Also the issue of agroforestry. Don't just go to communities with eucalyptus and blue gum and the rest. Go with a fruit tree or a pasture tree, something that can be used as animal feed or can be sold as a fruit that will ensure that people are interested in what you're talking about. But if you go the hybrid way, it might bring a challenge because of the issue of also harvesting. You want to plant a tree that will remain there. That is what restoration is about. Although I'm aware of the issues of sustainable harvesting he talked about, what we want to do is grow trees that will remain there for the benefit. Why are we planting trees?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Our viewers should answer that question. Why are we planting trees? 20316 is an SMS line. 0786 316 316 is our WhatsApp line. Guys, this conversation is just getting there. But you know we have to tone it down as we come towards a close. So prepare your closing remarks. As I come here, just closing remarks as well. So I'll start with you, Mboya.
So as a quick reflection to begin with, so she talked about the CFA's colleague from Green Kalua. So last year, we spent an entire month in Kakamega ecosystem. So part of my work, I work as a project coordinator with Living a Legacy, which is a UK environmental organization. And one of the things that informs our core work and mandate is essentially to center our restoration work around the communities. And when we went, for example, to Isicheno community within Kakamega rainforest, one of the things that was actually highlighted by the CFAs is the need to center work within community intervention frameworks, because they, for example, have realized guava is invading the forest. A lot of the guava species grown within the Kakamega area is leading to a lot of regress in some of the models that they're implementing. And so I think it's highly important to use community approaches, because communities already have solutions. Some of these communities have lived within these areas and they neighbor the ecosystem, and they understand well which species do well, which ones do not work. And so my action to call for the government is to really understand and explore. And they already have this mechanism. They have Carefree, they have KFS, they have all these institutions. How can they take up community models and framework and also recommendations in various areas? If you look at also Kilifi, where we've done mangrove restoration work, the communities there, they really understand the models they understand which, say, mangrove species are important for those localities. So it's important to center people's approach within the national frameworks, but also I highly also want to lay the emphasis around financing. Money should trickle down to these communities because I know there's huge finance, and a single day planting won't help us in the long term.
All right.
We need a concrete and sustainable plan for the long term.
All right,
Asante.
thank you. Asante. You can pass yours. It's closing remarks. How are we doing according to the air that we're breathing, Wangeshi?
It's in my phone.
Okay. Yeah, but what would be your closing remarks to this conversation?
Okay, my closing remarks will be centered around the agency we really have. You know, we throw it to the government sometimes, we make that mistake. But really, even that government, they're also living in the same environment. They're living in the same city. Their kids are not protected from the asthma that children are born with naturally. So yeah, we need to also, like for example, our community, we have a WhatsApp community where people, you know, raise alarms and whistle blow on maybe someone said, I was walking on Haile Selassie Avenue and the dust was unbearable. Then you go to Mudhura and the smell. So having those communities where those same people are also there and hearing it directly, not reports, directly from the people is important. And you mentioned children, because it's urban futures. We had a walk where we were fighting for urban forests, for clean air, and we were very intentional on bringing children to touch the sensors, to be part of this. And when we are bringing them on board, let it not be a photo op. We also organize these events to cater to them such that they don't feel like they're just add-ons, so that they can, you know, be sensitized from early on. And lastly is the technology. We were trying to contrast areas with green spaces and areas with no green spaces. What's the air we are breathing? So in this advocacy, evidence is also very important for people to listen to you and know that it's not just stories, but reality.
Good.
Thank you.
I'll come to Dennis. We can go to Sophie. Your closing remark.
Sure. Of course, I cannot do my closing remarks without inputting the issue of politics and our personal participation as citizens to ensuring that our future is well taken care of. We're aware that our current government is big on PR and little on action. So what then can we do as the citizens? It's to recognize that the environment is our personal responsibility. So if you see a problem, like I have really learned a lot on the direction we can take with the issue we have with reclaiming Nairobi from Mercy. So you can be sure you will see us take these issues to NEMA and NET. And also understanding that even as we're electing our next government, we should also listen to their manifestos. How are they planning to fund oversight institutions? Because mostly they're not doing their jobs because they have been defunded. So how are they planning to do that? What is their plan on waste management? We're seeing countries use AI to manage their waste, to reclaim their land. So how can we do that and make it a part of us? And lastly, I'd like to just finish by reflecting on the immense contribution of Wangari Maathai to Kenya's environmental and ecological justice status. She had the least of resources, but she did a lot as one individual. So we need to recognize, like Dennis is doing, individually, we have a lot inside of us that we can do to protect our environment. And if you look at the many trees, the lined up trees along the roads, even as you're traveling, that is Wangari Maathai's work. So we can really participate and do something about it. It's no longer business as usual. It's taking our future back in our hands.
Awesome. Powerful. Dennis.
Okay, so mine is just to say so far so good. We are doing good in tree planting or tree growing, and that's why we are celebrating it. Yeah, because it's an achievement. Mine is just also to emphasize on and to encourage each and every one of us to at least plant. I've seen nowadays people are planting trees and on celebration occasions, like earlier she had said, during birthdays, graduation ceremonies, even weddings. Yeah, so I really urge people to at least plant some trees. Thank you.
Wow, I didn't know they also plant during weddings. I missed that. My tree will be 3 months old now. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Allow me to say that the day's conversation, not just celebration, but action. I want to reflect to that and borrow from Wangari Maathai's legacy and her story about the hummingbird. And my rallying call to action to everyone. Can you please be the hummingbird wherever you are? One action, one tree, that is one change. Partnerships, very important, because this is a collective responsibility. The government alone cannot do this.
Good.
The private sector, the communities, the volunteers, and civil society organizations, they are going to collectively achieve this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Closing remarks.
Yeah.
Is there anything to add?
I just want to mention one thing because it came up, that Green Africa Foundation, inspired by Wangari Maathai, initiated a program we call Plant Your Age. I can see most of you are quite conversant with it because I have felt you give insights regarding the same. So actually, it's an initiative by Green Africa Foundation, but it is inspired by Wangari Maathai.
Wow.
So I welcome all of us and our communities where we come from. Let us borrow this from Green Africa Foundation. On your special occasion, can be a birthday celebration, can be an anniversary. Even for corporates, we encourage them to come on board and plant trees according to their different events or even targets in terms of sales. Okay. So in terms of closing remarks, also inspired by Wangari Maathai, she said, it is the little thing that you do that counts. So as we celebrate the upcoming Mazingira Day, do that little thing that will count and whose impact will be felt.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Irons, closing remarks?
Thank you so much. So much has been said. We've felt the love around tree planting. And so while we were having this discussion, something popped in my mind, and this is in terms of data, getting tangible data, verifiable data on the survival rates. While we plant our age, while we plant for our anniversaries or birthdays, well, we need tangible, verifiable data on the survival rates of some of this mass tree planting. And I think this will also act like as a motivation to continue doing the work, but without data where we planted severally, be it in public fields, in schools, and we're not able to know if they're actually surviving or, you know, we are going to remain behind. And you know, a tree that dies was never planted at all. So as much as you plant several trees, as much as if it dies, then it was not planted at all because there's no evidence of the tree that has grown. So let us have the data. I urge also research institutes to come up with data on the survival rates, even as we are moving towards the road to hitting the 15 billion target. And another thing, echoing on the partnerships, let us have more partnerships with grassroots organizations. The lands are within the community, like you all said. They are doing the work, but if we can embrace more of these partnerships, then we are able to work together, have a collective action towards the tree planting. And third, I would talk of maybe budget allocation, urging the government. I know there is always a national budget allocation, and if there is a small percentage that can be allocated for the aftercare services of the trees that have been planted or grown, then, you know, from the cultivating process to taking care of it to the nurturing processes to all the individuals who are responsible for the aftercare session, then we will be maybe making miles ahead. So the budget is very necessary. And in terms of policy implementation, I urge also maybe NEMA could take their roles or more seriously on the EIAs, overseeing the EIAs, so that we can solve the issue of, poor urban planning that comes with, poor drainage and flood systems. The last year's flood was a huge devastation. We lost several lives, lost several properties. And I always say that perhaps the impacts would be minimal if only our regulatory systems or institutions did more work towards the drainage, because the problem is within the drainage. And we lost so many lives. So that, we need to do more work. There's a lot of work to be done. And also, just lastly, let us, assign roles and responsibilities to the community so that they can have a sense of ownership. Let's involve the schools, the public schools, both private, public, CFAs. The KFS also plays a huge role in the aftercare process, because after growing trees, what next? So assigning these roles will see these trees through life. So yes, a tree that dies was never planted.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you so much.
A tree that dies was never planted. There's quite a lot that we can discuss. And my panel here is still like, I want to say something. But all that thought, we have another Mazingira Day.
Yes.
Not next year, every day is a Mazingira Day. I like what Ellie said. One action, one tree, one change. And I think that's the rallying call as we move and celebrate Mazingira Day. And now that we've been challenged, it's an everyday event. And this is something that transcends religion. It transcends our areas of spheres of operation. Every person needs to plant a tree. Maybe this time round, make sure that you plant your age so that we can fast track the 1.5 billion annual mark, but looking at the 15 billion target that we have as a nation. Talking about change, family media has something unique that is coming up. We are moving to Lamu. Wow. You guys are not excited? Our radio frequency is coming to Lamu, 88.5. That's the frequency number. We've not launched it yet. We are in a campaign drive. You can be part of it to help us take the gospel to Lamu. Our M-Pesa paybill number is 316. Account name, just say Lamu. And we'll be in a position to receive it and spread this message to Lamu. Family-based value conversations such as this needs to be had across the country, and you can be part of it. Until next time, bye-bye for now.